Tonight, we're going to walk through a single day in medieval Europe, but not a day of kings or knights, not a day of battles or grand events, but a quiet, ordinary day in the life of a peasant. A day much like thousands of others, lived slowly, gently, and mostly unnoticed by history. Imagine a small village somewhere in Western Europe, sometime in the late Middle Ages. The exact year does not matter. Days like this passed in much the same way for generations. The village rests among low fields and narrow dirt paths, surrounded by patches of forest and open farmland. There are no clocks here, no written schedules. Time is measured by light, by bells, and by the rhythm of the land itself. Before the sun has fully risen, the village is already awake in small, quiet ways. A thin gray light creeps across the sky, barely strong enough to push back the darkness. The air is cool, carrying the damp smell of earth and grass. Somewhere in the distance, a rooster calls out, his voice breaking the silence of the early morning. Smoke rises slowly from a few chimneys, drifting lazily into the still air. Inside, a small house at the edge of the village, a peasant stirs from sleep. The house is simple, built of wooden beams packed with clay and straw. The roof is thick with dried thatch, heavy and uneven. Inside, the space is dark and quiet. The floor is hard-packed dirt, worn smooth by many years of footsteps. There is no glass in the small window, only a wooden shutter that lets in thin slivers of pale morning light. The peasant lies on a low bed made of rough wood, topped with a mattress of straw. The straw shifts softly as he moves. A coarse wool blanket, thin but familiar, is pulled up around his shoulders. The night's fire has long burned out, and the air inside the house is cold. He opens his eyes slowly. For a moment, he does not move. His body feels heavy, stiff from yesterday's labor. His hands are rough, his joints sore, but this is nothing new. This feeling greets him every morning. He breathes in quietly, listening to the small sounds of the house, the soft breathing of his family, the faint creak of wood as the building settles. Nearby, his wife sleeps on another straw mattress, wrapped tightly in her blanket. A child lies curled between them, breathing softly, warm, and still. In the corner of the room, a few simple tools rest against the wall. A wooden table stands near the cold hearth, its surface scarred by years of use. There is no rush, no sudden alarm pulls him from bed. He rises because the day has begun, because the light is changing, because work waits in the fields. This is how it has always been. Slowly, he sits up, careful not to wake the child. The straw beneath him rustles quietly. His feet touch the cold dirt floor, and he pauses, letting himself fully wake. The chill seeps upward, grounding him in the moment. He reaches for his clothes, folded neatly beside the bed. They are simple garments, loose trousers, a tunic made of coarse linen worn thin at the elbows. He pulls them on without thought, each movement practiced and familiar. Over the years, his body has learned this routine better than his mind does. As he stands, he stretches slightly, feeling the pull in his back and shoulders. Outside, the light grows a little stronger. The darkness fades into soft gray, and the shape of the world slowly returns. His wife stirs now, waking in her own time. She sits up quietly, adjusting her blanket, her movements calm and unhurried. There are no words exchanged yet. They do not need them. Mornings are gentle and quiet here. She moves to the hearth, kneeling to stir the ashes. With practiced hands, she adds small pieces of wood and blows gently until a faint glow appears. Soon, a small flame flickers to life, casting warm orange light across the room. Shadows dance along the walls, bringing the house fully awake. The peasant watches the fire for a moment, feeling its warmth reach his face. The smell of smoke fills the room, comforting and familiar. This fire has warmed generations before him, just as it will warm generations to come. Outside, the village continues to wake. Doors open softly. Footsteps move along the dirt paths. Animals shift in their pens, snorting and shuffling as they sense the coming day. Somewhere nearby, a church bell rings once, low and distant, marking the morning hour. The peasant steps toward the door and lifts the wooden latch. As he opens it, cool morning air flows inside, carrying the scent of wet grass and soil. He pauses there, standing in the doorway, looking out at the pale sky. Another day has begun. A day of simple tasks, steady work, and familiar rhythms. A day that will pass quietly, much like yesterday, and much like tomorrow dawned. And with that quiet understanding, he steps outside, ready to begin. The morning air feels cool against his face as he steps outside. The chill, sharp, but not unpleasant. The ground beneath his feet is still damp from the night, and the dirt path leading away from the house is dark with moisture. He stands there for a moment, breathing slowly, letting the day settle around him. Behind him. Inside the house, the fire crackles softly. His wife moves quietly, preparing the morning meal. The child will wake soon, drawn by the warmth and the smell of food. Everything follows a rhythm that has been repeated countless times before. He walks a few steps away from the door and looks across the village. Low houses, much like his own, rest close together, their thatched roofs uneven and weathered. Thin trails of smoke rise straight into the still air. A dog moves lazily near one of the homes, tail low, nose to the ground. Farther away, beyond, the last row of houses, the fields stretch outward, fading into the pale light of dawn. He turns back inside. The warmth of the fire greets him again, and he moves closer to it, rubbing his hands together. His wife has placed a small pot over the flames. Inside, a thin porridge slowly thickens, made from barley ground coarse and cooked in water. It is simple, but it will give strength for the work ahead. They sit together at the small wooden table. The surface is rough beneath his hands, marked by old cuts and stains. The child now sits between them, still half asleep, eyes heavy, hair tangled from the night. No one speaks much. There is no need to fill the silence. The quiet is comfortable, wrapped around them like the warmth of the fire. The only sounds are the soft bubbling of the pot and the occasional crackle of burning wood. His wife ladles the porridge into wooden bowls. The steam rises slowly, carrying a faint, earthy scent. Each of them takes a piece of dark bread, dense and hard, baked days ago. He dips the bread into the porridge, softening it before taking a bite. The taste is plain. There is no sweetness, no spice. But it is filling, and it is familiar. His body knows this meal well. It is the same breakfast he has eaten most mornings of his life. He eats slowly, not because there is time to waste, but because there is no reason to rush. Outside, the sun is still low. The fields will wait Dot as he eats. His thoughts drift gently to the work ahead. He considers the condition of the soil, the way it felt beneath his boots yesterday. He wonders if the weather will hold, if the clouds gathering far off will bring rain later in the day. These thoughts pass through his mind without urgency, like leaves floating on water dot across the room. A small wooden shelf holds a few precious items: a chipped clay cup, a simple knife, a bundle of dried herbs. There is little here, but everything has its place. Nothing is wasted. When the bowls are empty, he wipes his hands on his tunic and stands. The child finishes the last few bites, then slides off the bench. His wife gathers the bowls and sets them aside, already thinking of the day's other tasks: mending, fetching water, tending to the hearth. He moves to the door once more, lifting the latch and opening it wide. The morning has brightened now. The sky has shifted from gray to pale blue, and the first rays of sunlight touch the tops of the fields. He steps outside again, this time with purpose. The path leading out of the village is narrow and uneven, worn smooth by years of feet and cart wheels. He follows it slowly, his boots pressing into the soft earth. With each step, the village falls quieter behind him, replaced by the open sounds of the land. Birds call from the hedges. Insects move through the grass, unseen but present. The air smells of soil and growing things. Ahead, the fields stretch wide and open. This is where the morning truly begins. By the time he reaches the fields, the sun has risen just enough to warm the tops of the grasses. The light moves slowly across the land, revealing long, gentle shapes in the soil rows formed by many seasons of planting and harvest. The earth here is familiar to him. He has walked these fields since he was young, learning their moods and patterns long before he understood words. He stops for a moment at the edge of the field, resting his hands on his hips. The soil is dark and slightly damp, holding the coolness of the night. He bends down and scoops a small handful, letting it fall through his fingers. It breaks apart easily, not too dry, not too wet. A good sign. Nearby, others begin to arrive. Figures move slowly across the fields, each person following their own quiet routine. A man adjusts the leather strap on his shoulder before taking hold of a wooden plow. Another carries a bundle of tools: hoes, sickles, simple iron blades dulled by use. They nod to one another as they pass, offering brief greetings, little more than a word or two. Morning, clear day. That is enough. There is no need for a long conversation. Everyone knows why they are here. He walks to his place in the field and picks up his tool, the wooden handle smooth from years of use. He plants his feet firmly in the soil and begins his work. The motion comes naturally: lift, press, pull. Again and again. His body settles into the rhythm, and his breathing slows to match it. The sounds of the morning grow steady and gentle. Wood scrapes against earth. Iron taps softly against stones hidden below the surface. Somewhere farther away, an ox snorts as it leans into the plow, guided by calm, practiced hands. These sounds blend together, forming a quiet music that fills the open space. Time stretches. The sun climbs higher, warming his back. A thin layer of sweat forms along his brow, but the air is still cool enough to make the work comfortable. Each movement pushes the soil aside, preparing it for seeds that will soon be planted. Seeds that will grow slowly over many months. As he works, his thoughts drift without direction. He thinks of last year's harvest, of the weeks spent gathering grain before the weather turned cold. He remembers long days much like this one, each blending into the next. There is no sharp line between past and present here. Everything feels connected, part of a long, unbroken chain. From time to time, he straightens and looks around. The fields stretch outward in soft waves, bordered by low hedges and distant trees. Beyond them, the forest stands dark and quiet, its edge blurred by the morning light. Above, the sky is wide and pale, holding only a few thin clouds that move slowly with the breeze. He returns to his work. The repetition is comforting. Each motion follows the last, steady and unchanging. There is no hurry, but there is no stopping either. The land must be tended, not all at once, but patiently, day after day. A short while later, he pauses to drink from a small clay flask. The water inside is cool, carrying the faint taste of earth. He takes only a few sips before setting it down. Too much rest would stiffen his muscles, and the day is still long. Nearby, another peasant works in silence, his movements just as measured. They stand a short distance apart, sharing the same field, the same task, without speaking. The presence of others is quiet and reassuring. No one is truly alone here. As the morning continues, the light grows brighter. Shadows shorten. The sounds of the village fade behind them, replaced entirely by the open land. This is the heart of the morning, a time for steady hands, calm thoughts, and patient labor. A time when the world feels simple, reduced to soil, sky, and the slow passing of hours. And so the work goes on, unbroken. As the day gently moves forward. As the morning moves on, the sun rises higher into the sky, and its warmth settles more firmly over the fields. The light is no longer pale and gentle, but steady and clear. Shadows draw closer to the feet of those working, and the earth begins to dry at the surface. The peasant slows his pace slightly, not from exhaustion, but from habit. He has learned over many years how to measure his strength, how to let it last through the long hours ahead. He adjusts his grip on the tool and continues, feeling the familiar weight of it in his hands. From across the field, a voice calls out. It is not loud, and it carries no urgency. Just a simple greeting, carried easily on the morning air. He looks up and sees a neighbor approaching, his figure outlined against the brightening sky. The man walks with an easy stride, his tool resting across his shoulder. They stop a short distance apart. Looks like it'll stay clear today, the neighbor says, glancing upward. He nods. So it seems. That is the extent of it. No more needs to be said. They both understand how much the weather matters, how each clear day is quietly welcomed, how each sudden storm is remembered. Another man joins them, wiping his brow with the back of his hand. He speaks of the fields near the river, of soil that has held too much water, of paths made muddy by recent rains. The words are practical, calm, shared without complaint. They stand together for a moment. Three figures in a wide open field, bound by the same work and the same concerns. In the distance, the church bell rings again, marking the late morning hour. The sound drifts across the land, slow and even, reminding them of time passing. It is not a command, just a gentle signal, easily folded into the rhythm of the day. Soon, each man returns to his place. The peasant resumes his work, the brief conversation already fading from his thoughts. His focus settles back into the movement of his hands, the feel of soil shifting beneath his feet. The land responds quietly, offering no resistance beyond what is expected. As the sun climbs, insects begin to stir. Bees move lazily from plant to plant along the edges of the field. A bird lands nearby, tilting its head as if listening to the ground before hopping away again. The peasant straightens once more, resting for a moment. His back aches slightly now, a dull, familiar sensation. He stretches slowly, feeling the tightness ease just enough to continue. There's a sense of shared time here. Though each person works their own patch of land, they are never truly separate. From time to time, a glance is exchanged, a nod offered. These small acknowledgments are enough. They confirm that everyone is still there, still moving forward together. The sun stands higher now, and the light grows warmer. The morning edges closer to midday. Soon, there will be a pause, a brief rest, a simple meal eaten in the shade. But for now, the work continues, steady, quiet, unbroken. In the fields, patient as ever, receive their care in silence. As the morning draws closer to midday, the work in the fields begins to slow in subtle ways. Movements grow a little heavier, breaths a little deeper. The sun now sits well above the horizon, its warmth pressing gently down on the open land. The peasant pauses and looks toward the edge of the field. Along the narrow path that runs between the plots, more figures have gathered. Some stand resting on their tools, others sit briefly on the low grass. It is not an official break, not marked by any signal, but everyone feels it. The body knows when it is time to slow. He walks toward the others, his steps unhurried. Nearby, a woman speaks quietly to an older man, her voice calm and steady. They talk about the condition of the grain, about how quickly it has grown this season. A younger worker listens, nodding, storing the information away. These conversations are practical, rooted in the land, shaped by years of shared experience. Someone mentions news from another village. A traveler passed through days ago, they say. He spoke of distant places, of roads lined with trees and towns larger than this one. The words are received without excitement. Such stories come and go, like the seasons. Interesting for a moment, then set aside. The peasant listens, but does not speak much. He prefers to observe, to take in the scene around him. Faces are worn, but familiar. Hands are rough, marked by labor. Clothing is faded by sun and time, patched and repaired again and again. There is no sense of hurry here, no pressure to impress or compete. Everyone knows their place, and everyone knows the work will be waiting. A cart passes slowly along the distant road, its wooden wheels creaking softly. The sound carries across the fields, then fades away. For a moment, all eyes follow it, then return to the ground beneath their feet. The church bell rings once more, marking the approach of midday. The sound is gentle, almost comforting, spreading evenly across the land. It signals a natural pause, a brief moment to gather strength. The peasant moves toward a small tree near the field's edge, and lowers himself to the ground. The shade beneath it is thin but welcome. He removes his cap and wipes his forehead, feeling the air cool his skin. From a cloth wrapped carefully at his side, he takes out a small piece of bread. It is hard and dark, but he breaks it easily with his hands. He eats slowly, chewing thoughtfully, letting the quiet settle around him. Others do the same. Some sit alone. Some sit together. A few exchange short words, nothing more than simple observations. Laughter is rare, but not absent. When it comes, it is soft and brief, fading quickly back into calm. The peasant leans back slightly, closing his eyes for a moment. The sound of insects hums gently in the grass. Leaves rustle faintly in the light breeze. The warmth of the sun and the steady rhythm of the morning work weigh pleasantly on his body. This is not rest, meant to refresh completely. It is only enough to breathe, enough to eat, enough to continue. Soon, they will rise again. The fields will call them back, and the afternoon will unfold much like the morning quiet, steady and unremarkable. But for now, under the open sky, time slows and the day holds still. The sun stands nearly overhead now, and the light has changed. It is brighter, more direct, pressing down on the fields and softening the edges of the world. The shadows beneath the tree have grown smaller, and the air feels warmer against the skin. The peasant opens his eyes and slowly sits upright. The brief rest has eased the tightness in his shoulders, though the weariness has not disappeared. It never truly does. He rises carefully, brushing bits of grass and soil from his trousers, and places his cap back on his head. Around him, others do the same. One by one, they stand, gather their tools, and drift back toward their work. There is no signal to begin again, no spoken command. The pause simply ends, as naturally as it began. He returns to his place in the field. The soil looks different now under the midday sun. Its surface is lighter in color, drier, warmer. As he presses his tool into the ground, he feels more resistance than before. The earth does not give as easily, but he adjusts, leaning his weight forward, letting his strength do the work. The afternoon has its own rhythm. It is slower, heavier. Movements require more effort. Breathing becomes more deliberate. The heat settles into the body, and the mind narrows its focus to what is directly in front of it. Lift, press, pull. Each motion follows the last, steady and unchanging. Sweat gathers along his neck and back, soaking into the coarse fabric of his tunic. He wipes his face with his sleeve and continues without stopping. The sounds of the afternoon are fewer now. Birdsong has quieted. The hum of insects remains steady and low. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barks once, then falls silent again. From time to time, he straightens his back and looks toward the horizon. The sky is wide and clear, stretching endlessly overhead. Thin clouds drift slowly, their movement barely noticeable unless watched carefully. His thoughts are simple. He thinks of the field as it will look weeks from now, when green shoots push through the soil. He thinks of the harvest months away, of full granaries and long winter nights. These thoughts are not hopes or fears. They are expectations, shaped by long experience. Nearby, Another peasant pauses to sharpen a blade against a small stone. The soft scraping sound cuts briefly through the quiet, then fades. They exchange a glance, a small nod, and return to their tasks. The hours pass without marking themselves. There is no clock, no measure of time beyond the slow movement of the sun. The body feels the change before the eyes do, the slight easing of heat, the lengthening of shadows. Gradually, the light softens. The afternoon begins to lean toward evening. The peasant slows his pace once more, listening to his body, honoring its limits. He knows when to stop before exhaustion takes hold. The land will still be here tomorrow. The work will continue then. For now. The day has given enough, and as the sun begins its quiet descent, the fields grow calm again, waiting patiently for the return of morning. As the sun lowers in the sky, the heat of the day begins to fade. A soft breeze moves across the fields, carrying with it the scent of grass and turned soil. The light shifts again, turning warmer, gentler, stretching long shadows across the ground. The peasant rests his tool against his shoulder and takes one last look at the work he has done. The field lies calm and orderly before him, shaped by hours of steady effort. It is not perfect, and it does not need to be. It is simply ready for what comes next. Around him, others are doing the same. Tools are lifted, shoulders straighten, and bodies turn slowly toward the village. The movement is unspoken but shared, like the closing of a chapter. The day in the fields has ended. He begins the walk back along the narrow dirt path. Each step feels heavier now, his muscles tired but satisfied. The path winds gently through the land, bordered by tall grass that brushes softly against his legs. Insects rise and fall in the warm air, their quiet sounds blending with the distant lowing of cattle. Ahead, the village comes back into view. Thin columns of smoke rise once more from the chimneys, darker now against the evening sky. The shapes of houses grow clearer as he approaches, their familiar outlines welcoming and still. The church bell rings in the distance, marking the evening hour. Its sound is slow and deep, echoing across the fields before fading away. He listens without stopping, letting the sound pass through him. Near the edge of the village, children play in the dirt, their laughter light and brief. A woman calls to them softly, guiding them back toward home. Chickens scratch at the ground, pecking lazily before settling for the night. He nods to a neighbor passing in the opposite direction. A simple greeting is exchanged, no more than a glance and a quiet word. Everyone is returning to their own doors, carrying the same tired, calm as he reaches his home. The door stands slightly open. Warm light spills out from inside, flickering against the ground. He steps across the threshold and closes the door behind him, shutting out the cool evening air. Inside. The fire has been lit again. The room glows softly, filled with the smell of wood smoke and cooking. His wife moves quietly near the hearth, stirring a pot. The child sits nearby, occupied with a small, simple toy made of wood and string. He sets his tool down against the wall and washes his hands in a small basin. The water is cool, darkened quickly by the day's dirt. He dries his hands on his tunic and joins his family by the fire. The hardest part of the day is over. What remains is rest. Warmth and the slow fading of light as night approaches. The evening settles gently over the village. bringing with it a sense of quiet completion. Inside the house, the fire burns steadily, its soft crackle filling the small space with warmth. Shadows move slowly along the walls, stretching and shrinking as the flames shift. The peasant sits on a low wooden bench near the hearth. His body feels heavy now, the kind of tiredness that comes from honest work and long hours spent outdoors. He rests his hands on his knees, feeling the roughness of his skin, the lingering warmth of the day still held in his muscles. His wife lifts the pot from the fire and sets it carefully on the table. The evening meal is simple, much like the morning. A thick stew made from vegetables and grains, flavored lightly with herbs gathered nearby. The smell is warm and earthy, filling the room. She ladles the stew into wooden bowls, moving slowly, carefully. The child watches closely, waiting with quiet patience. When the bowls are ready, they sit together at the table. They eat without hurry. The stew is plain but comforting, its warmth spreading through the body. Bread is passed from hand to hand, broken into smaller pieces. There is no abundance here, but there is enough as they eat. A few quiet words are exchanged. His wife speaks of the day's small tasks, mending a torn sleeve, fetching water from the well, tending the fire. He listens, nodding gently, adding only a word or two in return. Their voices remain low, respectful of the evening calm. Outside, darkness slowly deepens. Through the small window, the last light of the sky fades from pale gold to deep blue. The sounds of the village soften. Footsteps disappear. Animals settle into their shelters. The world seems to draw inward, becoming smaller and quieter. After the meal, the bowls are set aside. The child curls up near the fire, growing drowsy, head resting against a blanket. The peasant leans back slightly, stretching his legs toward the warmth. For a moment, he simply sits. The firelight dances before his eyes. His thoughts drift, slow and unfocused. He does not think of tomorrow's work in detail. There will be time for that. Tonight is for rest. His wife tends the fire, adding another small piece of wood. Sparks rise briefly, then fade. The room grows calmer still, wrapped in the steady glow. This is the quiet heart of the day, a time when nothing is required, when the world asks for no effort at all. The labor of the fields far away now, replaced by warmth, stillness, and the gentle passing of evening. Soon, night will fully arrive, and with it, the simple peace of sleep. The fire burns lower now, its flames softer, slower. The room is filled with a deep, comfortable quiet, broken only by the gentle crackle of embers and the faint sounds of the night outside. The peasant rises from the bench and moves carefully across the room. His movements are slower than in the morning, measured and deliberate. He lifts the child gently and carries them to the straw bed, laying them down with care. The child shifts slightly and settles again, breathing evenly. His wife prepares for the night in small, familiar ways. She folds a blanket, straightens the table, and checks the latch on the door. These tasks are simple, but they bring a sense of order, a quiet closing of the day. Outside, the village is nearly silent. A distant dog barks once, then nothing. Somewhere farther away, an owl calls softly from the edge of the forest. The sound drifts through the open space and fades into the darkness. The peasant sits down once more, closer to the fire now, letting the remaining warmth ease the last of the day's tension from his body. His hands rest loosely in his lap. His eyes grow heavy. He thinks briefly of the day that has passed, the morning light, the steady work of the fields, the quiet conversations, the long hours beneath the sun. None of it stands out as remarkable, and that is exactly as it should be. This life is not made of moments meant to be remembered. It is made of days like this one, layered gently on top of each other, forming something steady and enduring. His wife joins him, sitting nearby. They share a quiet moment without speaking, listening to the fire and the night beyond the walls. Words feel unnecessary now. Everything that needs to be understood already is thought at last. She rises and dims the fire, spreading the embers so they burn slowly through the night. The room grows darker, the light softer and more distant. The peasant stands and moves toward the bed. He removes his tunic and lies down on the straw mattress, pulling the wool blanket over himself. The straw shifts beneath him, forming to his shape. The house creaks quietly as it settles into the night dot above them. The thatched roof holds back the darkness, the cold, and the quiet weight of the sky. Inside, there is only warmth, breath, and stillness. Sleep comes slowly, gently, and as his eyes close, the world fades into silence, ready to begin again with the coming dawn. The night deepens, and the village disappears into darkness inside the small house. The fire has faded to a soft glow, barely lighting the room. Shadows rest motionless along the walls. The air is cool again now, carrying the faint scent of smoke, straw, and earth. The peasant lies still on the straw mattress, his breathing slow and even. Sleep has settled over him fully, heavy and calm. His body rests in the way it has learned to rest deeply, without thought, without dreams that linger. Outside, the world continues in quiet ways. The wind moves gently through the fields, brushing against tall grass and hedges. Leaves rustle softly, then fall still. Somewhere near the forest's edge, an animal shifts, unseen, unheard by those sleeping within the village. Time passes without notice. There are no lamps burning now, no voices carrying through the night. Only the steady presence of darkness, holding everything in place. The road through the village lies empty, pale under the moonlight. The fields rest, waiting patiently beneath the open sky. Inside the house, the child turns slightly in their sleep, then settles again. The peasant's wife breathes softly nearby, wrapped in her blanket. As still as the room itself. This is how most nights pass, not marked by events or memories, but by their quiet sameness. Night after night, the same sounds, the same darkness, the same gentle surrender to rest. The peasant does not think of tomorrow. His body knows what to do when the light returns. The land will call, just as it always has. Morning will arrive slowly, just as it did before. For now, there is only sleep, a deep, peaceful sleep held by the night. While the world remains still, and somewhere beyond the darkness, unseen and unfelt, the next day waits, ready to begin again. And so the night holds on a little longer. The darkness remains soft and complete, wrapping the village in stillness. There is no sound of work, no movement of people, only the slow, steady breathing of those asleep, and the quiet presence of the land that surrounds them. The fields lie untouched beneath the sky, their shapes barely visible in the faint light of the moon. Dew begins to form again on the grass, settling gently, preparing the earth for another morning. The paths through the village are empty, waiting for footsteps that will come soon enough. Inside the small house, nothing stirs. The peasant sleeps deeply, his body fully at rest. The weariness of the day has faded into calm, leaving behind only warmth and stillness. The fire has burned down to ash, but a gentle heat lingers, just enough to keep the night at bay. This single day, so ordinary and quiet, is now complete. It will not be remembered by name. It will not be written down or marked by any event. But it is days like this, simple, steady, and repeated, that shape a life. For generations, days like this passed quietly in medieval villages across Europe. Morning followed night. Work followed rest. And the land remained patient and constant. Soon, the sky will begin to lighten once more. A pale gray will return to the horizon. Birds will stir. Smoke will rise again from chimneys. And the cycle will begin again, just as it always has. But for now, everything remains still. And in that stillness, the world rests, calm, unhurried, and complete.